Good evening. I call to order the August 14, 2017 regular meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. I welcome everyone and ask that you please silence your telephones and electronic devices. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Wagner, please call the roll. Present.
Present.
Here.
Here.
I'm present. I need a motion to approve the revised minutes from two meetings, one special meeting August 9th, 2017, and one regular board meeting August 9th, 2017.
So move.
Is there a second? Second. Any opposed? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The minutes are approved as presented. Ms. Bolton, as Chair of the Student Achievement Committee, please present the July 24th, 2017 Student Achievement Committee report.
Thank you very much. I'll submit it, and I know that Member Hoffman of the committee has an addition to place in as well. We got a report, not surprisingly, about preschool expansion and what the numbers were looking like from our Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Broadnax. We also had a rather extensive public time, too, for the Clifton Area Neighborhood School CANS update, and I know that very night then we did take action as a board and upon the administration's recommendation to go forward with some of the things that were suggested and asked for. The attendance pilot is, again, something we're reporting on that the state has asked us to participate, and Barb Matei-Smith reported in the absence of Assistant Superintendent Miles. The state has actually asked us to be part of a pilot to really get into the chronic absenteeism and indeed find ways to address this, and they felt that we had the infrastructure and the commitment and the capacity to be of help in that pilot. So we're very pleased to participate, and it's something that will affect the whole district. And then also continuing with our efforts regarding positive school culture and reporting. We talked a little bit about how to measure those sorts of items and how we can continue to develop programs that help us attain the kind of positive school cultures at the various sites that we want. And then updated medical consent forms and started to find some things out about forms, which is one of Mrs. Hoffman's particular interests that is going to be addressed. And then the high school, we're very excited and thank Assistant Superintendent Lofton for his work on this, where we are now able, with the financial arrangements, to move a couple more of our high schools to either the 7 or 8 period day. And that is an equity issue that's been at the front of the mind of the board, and so we found out more about advanced ed accreditation, and that's the area where we're going to be adding some a little bit more to the minutes. And then high school start times, again, throughout the country and throughout our city, both at the health board, city council, city education and entrepreneurship committee, and certainly with student achievement committee and the board. We know that the community's been very interested in looking at the necessary things that would have to happen to make sure that we have less early start times, if you will, for our teenagers. So I'll be asking the board to maybe look at an assignment at the end of the meeting and follow up to that. But I know that's also an area where Mrs. Hoffman's been very active, and the whole community is being very diligent and persistent to try to get us to find ways to address that. So that's the minutes, and I know you have an addition that you want to make.
Yes, thank you. So as we were talking with Dr. Lofton about the advanced ed accreditation for our high schools, again, like Board Member Bolton reported, it's really exciting that when our last two high schools go through the process this year, we'll be the only large urban district in the country where all of our high schools are advanced ed accredited, so it's pretty fantastic, and we should thank Dr. Lofton for leading that. So with that, during that conversation, we had asked about our K-12 schools. And so I think part of the assignment that was just left off here is those K-12 schools, those high schools also being part of that process at some point. And so I know Dr. Lofton took down the assignment. We just want to make sure it was part of our official minutes
And
here.
thanks for catching that, appreciate it. So I submit.
Excellent, thank you. Do board members have any questions or comments about the report? Okay. Do we need to approve that report? Okay, so I need a motion to approve those comments, the report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So we have some pretty exciting stuff tonight related to presentations. We've got a lot of our strong partners and friends with us tonight. We're going to start with the Youth Commission of Cincinnati, which is short YCC. And it looks like we have Councilwoman Yvette Simpson with us, as well as Elizabeth Bloom, who is the director of the Cincinnati Business Institute. And if I've left anyone off, just tell us when you come down. Come to the lower podium, please. Thank you. Good evening.
I want to thank Board President for allowing us to be here, all the members, and our new superintendent. It is always a pleasure when the city of Cincinnati gets to come together with an amazing partner like CPS to talk about how we better serve our young people. I want to introduce the presentation, and then I'm going to give it over to Liz Bloom with CBI, who is our partner on this work. I got to tell you, we started this work about 3 years ago with the ambitious goal of trying to better understand how we serve the whole of our young people. We know that they don't exist in boxes, even though we sometimes serve them that way, really starting with the voice of our young people, not just our young people in poverty, but our young people who are in places of wealth and privilege, better understanding how these very real domains that they live in every single day affect their ability to be successful. This actually started from a very personal place for me, growing up in poverty and realizing that I had challenges that were in different domains, but I felt like I was not being adequately served. We imagine a child in a web, and if you have quality education, your arm can get out, but the rest of you is still stuck. If you got quality health care, you might get that other arm out. Really trying to better understand how we free our children from the web that they're caught in. And this is, again, children from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I don't want to steal all of Ms. Bloom's thunder, but this is a gap analysis. And so we had to look at the young people from the perspective of how they're represented across our entire city. So you'll see adequate representation so we can scale our numbers up. It's a multi-phase study. It's really good stuff. We hope that you all will dig in, and we want to thank CPS for being an amazing partner on this study. I should have said that at the outset. There are a lot of great other partners that are in the report if you want to know who they are. Phase one was a kind of a data analysis, and it looked not only across our city, but broke it down by neighborhoods to better look at where our kids are demographically, what their challenges are, better understanding how they're served and where they're served. We learned a lot there, in part, that the services that our children rely on aren't necessarily where they are. And that was just an eye-opening opportunity when we think about children and their families' lack of access to transportation. And then the second phase was an in-depth kind of data review. We did surveys. I think we did almost 2,000 surveys of young people, about 400 of parents, and then about 40 or 50 from stakeholders who serve young people. The highlight from that was everybody sees our children perspectives from different perspectives. So we asked the same question of all three categories and got 3 different answers. So when in doubt, always listen to our young people. I think they know best, right? Because we think that we do, parents think they do, and they don't. Finally, the third phase was this in-depth profile of a few families, about 40 families, children and parents, to better understand how they live this out day to day. So I just want to go through really quickly the 6 areas that we covered. One was crime, one was education, clearly one that you all work in very closely, health, Poverty and homelessness was a separate one. Workforce development and employment and developmental opportunities, which encapsulates the socio-emotional development of our young people. And that can be everything through how they engage with people psychologically, how they engage with activities, their development as an insight person. So we're really excited about that. We want to share this study with you now. I want to invite and make sure that Liz Bloom comes up and tells you a little bit more. We're beginning the work now that the study is complete. I'm going to stakeholders and saying, here's what we've learned and here's how we want you to be a partner. The name of the study is It's Time to Wake the Village, Making Cincinnati a Better Place. We are all the village and our children need us. I always steal this one highlight before I give it to Liz. One of the things that surprised me about the study that is so encouraging, and I want to leave you all with before we get into the detail, when you do a gap analysis, you make certain assumptions. Right? You make assumptions that children in poverty have this feeling and children who come from privilege have this feeling. There was one thing that's kind of key to this study that was a pleasant surprise. Regardless of whether our kids are struggling with many different, in all 5 or 6 domains, whether they come from meager backgrounds or very affluent backgrounds, they all to the same degree have the same hopefulness in their future. So what we say is that the children are not the problem, we are. Because if we can take children, that hopefulness that they start with, and give them the tools, they can get wherever they need to go. So I'll leave it with Liz, and then we'll take some questions at the end of the presentation.
Thank you so much. This is my clicker. All right. So we've all heard the proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child." Well, I'm here to tell you it's time to wake the village, because lots of people are not stepping up in the way that young people need them to, exactly as Yvette said. So I think this was a great privilege for us. As Yvette said, we did 1,600 surveys. We interviewed 40 young people and their families. We did 6 more focus groups. We've talked to hundreds of teenagers over the past year, and it's just been fascinating. Okay, now I got to figure out where I point this. At you?
Side buttons.
So I'm not going to go through a lot of this. Yvette talked about much of this. What I can tell you is we know in Cincinnati there are about 77,000 young people between the ages of 0 and 19, and about 21,000 of them are teenagers. And half of those kids live in 9 neighborhoods in Cincinnati. They live in East Price Hill, Avondale, Mount Airy, Winton Hills, College Hill, Hyde Park, Mount Washington, Westwood, and West Price Hill. Half the kids in the city in those 9 neighborhoods. Just gives you a sense, about 45% of the young people in Cincinnati neighborhoods live in low-income neighborhoods, 25 in middle, 14 in upper middle, and 16 in higher-end neighborhoods. So there are 33,000 households in Cincinnati that have young people in them, and about 1/3 of them have mom and dad both. About half of them, like my household, is mom and her kids. About 38,000 students or kids in Cincinnati live with an adult, not mom or dad, and about 2,600 students live with dad. Just to give you a quick sense of what the young people in Cincinnati look like. We heard from Councilwoman Simpson, young people are very optimistic about their future. No matter who they are, they think they're going to succeed. And that's a pretty amazing thing, given what some of the kids in the survey put up with on a regular basis. Families and schools, I'm singing to the choir here, families and schools are the first best support for children. And I'm going to say that again, families and schools are the first best support and the network for young people. I think often lots of what we do is an attempt to get around and build sort of a separate structure other than their family, other than the school, and what kids tell us is their school and their family is the most important thing to them, whether it works or whether it doesn't work. Young people worry about and experience an incredible amount of violence in this city. It's a pretty pervasive experience for many young people. They want to get out and see the world, and they are not as connected in their neighborhoods as we all think they are. The stories that adults and seniors always tell about their neighborhood, about everybody taking care of them, and mom knew what happened way before they ever got home, young people do not have those stories. They don't tell those stories. So what I'm going to suggest to you, and the sort of gist of the recommendations here, I think is very different. We're not suggesting new programs. We're not suggesting new dollars. We're suggesting that people, humans, have to step up and connect to young people in their neighborhoods. And they have to do it in an intentional, deliberate way, and that we have to find places in our neighborhoods where young people feel comfortable and welcomed and secure. One of the things, so people have to get engaged in the lives of young people, and there have to be places that young people feel comfortable. One of the stories that we heard, I said, young people don't have stories about their next door neighbor taking care of them. What they say is when they get off the bus, they go home and they shut the door because either they or their parents don't feel like they're safe. And so they disconnect from the neighborhood, they disconnect from the programs and activities in the neighborhood that are available to them, but they don't disconnect from their social media, right? They have their screen in their hand. People are parents and guardians, they're educators, they're community members and associations, and the places that we want to talk about young people getting connected to are places like rec centers and neighborhood business districts and community spaces like libraries and churches and schools. Imagine if the neighborhood coffee shop did not have a sign on the door that said no more than 2 teenagers allowed at the same time, but everybody pile your backpacks in that corner and don't be too loud. A much different message, right? Because what happens when young people go home and close the door is they're disconnected from casual employment opportunities, they're disconnected from their neighbors, they're disconnected from all of the kind of steps that we hope teenagers are taking to kind of get assimilated into their world, into their neighborhood, and a little bit beyond. So what we'd like to suggest is over the next 12 months, that we, in an intentional, deliberate way, engage people in neighborhoods to care about the young people who are around them. It sounds like a very simple thing when I say it, but if it was, we would be doing it, and we're not. So in the 9 neighborhoods where half the students in the city live, East Price Hill, Avondale, Mount Airy, Winton Hills, College Hill, Hyde Park, Mount Washington, Westwood, and West Price Hill, we'd like to challenge the community councils and the faith-based organizations in those 9 neighborhoods to each identify 10 adults who are willing to step up and take responsibility for getting connected to young people in their neighborhood. And we'd like to ask the rec centers in those 9 neighborhoods to take some responsibility for helping facilitate that conversation, get young people in those rec centers to talk about the kind of places that young people would feel comfortable outside of their homes. If every neighborhood in those 9 neighborhoods could create 5 places where young people felt welcome and supported, and we had 1,000 more adults in these communities paying attention to reaching a hand out to young people, this would be a very different place. And so if those adults who are nervous and have never done this before and whose kids are long gone, or who maybe don't even like kids, or they think they don't even like kids, were willing to stand up and do that challenge, what would they do? We've got a series of recommendations in the document. I'm not going to go into them tonight, but these are the things that educators and program people know, right? These are the things that we all know. Create supports for students socially and emotionally to help them perform better in school. Create community-based mentoring initiatives. We know what these things are. And in fact, we know how to do these things. I'm going to highlight really quickly 3 great examples of places in Cincinnati where people really support young people. My Cincinnati is a program in Price Hill that has over 120 young people playing musical instruments and now has 20 or 30 of their parents connected and also playing musical instruments. We know how to do this, and those kids and those parents feel supported and connected in ways that are very different than they did 4 years ago. Seven Hills Neighborhood Houses in the West End is one of my favorite community centers. There's a person, Nichelle, is at that center. I'm going to just tell you a really quick story because this is exactly what I'm talking about. A young woman who has been in the West End and at the NABE all through growing up since she was a little girl. She's a senior in high school. She's at CPS. She's interested in going to DAP. She came into the NABE panicked one night at about 7:30 or 8 o'clock because she needed to write her essay and get her application in. Nichelle, that's not her job, but they sat down together, did the essay, edited the essay, and got it in. She felt comfortable enough to do that. It was something she needed, and that person made all the difference to her. Rec centers, our Cincinnati rec centers right now are in some cases places for young people, in some cases not so much. And I think the rec centers are really working with young people. They actually have started a youth council now. And the thing that impresses me about that youth council is when young people say, I want to do X, X happens. So it's one thing to engage, it's another thing to listen and respond and react, and something changes as a result of what they said. So the point is, we know how to do this, and we're doing it in little ways all over the place, but we're not doing it in big enough ways all over the place. The marching orders, again, these are the things we know. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but I think if I can leave you with anything, it is that this is not about more programs, it's about more people, humans, stepping up and taking responsibility for their own children and for somebody else's children, for whoever the next door neighbor is. That's it. And Yvette's coming back.
Any questions from the board at all?
Yeah, so thank you for being here and for sharing this information. I went online and read most of the report before coming here as well, so I could have some background. And I think what's so exciting is that it is right in line with Superintendent Mitchell's vision for what we want for kids here. So this is just such a great collaboration to see your work, and then figure out how do we amplify what we're doing, right?
Yes.
And, as Councilmember Simpson, when you were speaking earlier, talking about where things are versus where kids are, it made me think about during the superintendent's State of the School address the other day, and there was a big slide behind her with a big circle that says equity, access, opportunity, right? And so the fact that our superintendent is thinking about if we want equitable outcomes, we need equity and access and equity and opportunity. So I think this is a really just a good collaboration. I think we can start here. And then what Ms. Bloom was talking about with we know how to do this. So when you were talking about the working with the community councils, it also had me thinking about the peer leadership collaboratives that Superintendent Mitchell has been leading, because the kids lead those ideas, right? She brings the kids together, but then the kids say what my school needs. And then the kids lead how to get my school doing this work. And so instead of reinventing the wheel, figuring out how do we partner better, how do we work more closely to share what we know, so that we can just get to this end goal faster.
That's exactly. And the thing I want to say too is I think it's really important to connect young people and adults.
Yes.
It's like we do young people stuff and we do adult stuff, and never the twain shall meet. And we have to connect each other. Young people have to get connected to the regular real world in ways that they feel empowered.
So there's so much to this study, and I hope you all, phase 1 is like 186 pages, phase 2 is like another 70 pages. We gave you the synopsis, and there's a whole section just on education. We did all the independent domains, and then we looked at the crosstabs, because one of the great things about the survey document is a live, active document, and we can see relationships between domains, which I thought was really insightful. I think the socio-emotional piece is so important because it was one of the areas that just seemed to trend through all of the other areas. The key for me means that if you can't stabilize any of the others first, start with socio-emotional. We had a lot of kids that showed amazing resiliency based on what they're going through, and if we can work through kind of building their insides up, they can get through while we're trying to figure out how to stabilize housing, how to stabilize health, how to stabilize all these other areas. So I think one of the things that was interesting is that every single one of our domains has at least one, probably multiple socio-emotional recommendations. And so we just want to thank you all for that. We hope you all will kind of chew on it a little bit. Let us know. We'll continue to kind of partner with you. One of the things I did say at the kickoff was that we consider it at the city our responsibility to take care of everything outside of the school day. And we understand that we've got to step up in a more significant way so that the school can focus on the things that are important during the school day. We want to make sure that we're partnering with you so the kids show up ready to learn and they come back the next day ready to learn again. And so this is a big part of us saying, we realize that we're a part of the village, we want to do more, here's what we've learned, we want to make sure that you understand how you can help as well.
Well, thank you so much, and I can recall when the data book was, that phase was over, and I know that you reported to City Council, and I had the pleasure of watching you do the entire report, and I thought it was very endearing and inspiring that the kids were so positive, and about their future, and I felt very good about that. So I think the data is just very useful, and to your point, the education piece, I feel confident that that this district has made a commitment and has built the infrastructure that we can indeed work on these marching orders that you've given. One of the things that I feel really strongly about, and I'm so glad you've captured it, and I can relate to this as a very old person. The problem is the kids don't feel connected with their neighborhood.
That's right.
And if they're not feeling connected to their village, then they can't really understand when the village is helping them or not helping them, or we can't embrace them to what we need to be doing. And I think that's part of the initiative for the neighborhood school effort, which is Vision 2020. It's a reason why we need to be looking at how we determine who goes where to what schools.
Right.
And where we have to really make some commitments. And that, you know, as a proud CPS graduate, I can remember which families along the way watched me walk to school or not walk to school. I can remember that there was a sense that you stopped at the corner store to get some candy, and there wasn't a limit as to how many kids could be in at the same time. We were their money, very
Right.
frankly. So I think that's an area where we can work really hard on building that partnership, not just with the city, but, and I know just hearing something on Facebook this last week about our superintendent and two of our newest a new principal and an established principal meeting with the Walnut Hills and East Walnut Hills community councils. I think that's an avenue that we need to explore more and more.
Yes.
So and this data proves that we need to do that for the
Yes.
sake of the kids.
Yeah,
So-
they reference some of our kids feeling like they're not connected to anything.
Right.
Like they're floating, like they don't have their feet on the ground, they don't feel connected to institutions or people in any real significant way. And that can be dangerous in many different fronts, right? When kids feel like if they go through crisis or they need help, they really don't feel like there's anyone kind of in their world that they can connect with, and they don't feel like they're grounded in much. And so we have work to do in making sure that we're bombarding kids with this, hey, you know, we're here for you. You're a part of us. Here's how you're making a connection and making an impact on your community. How can we connect them more to us and connect more to them? And so when we realized that was kind of a theme that really came out, not just kind of anecdotally in what the kids were saying, but also in the data, we really realized that it was going to take all of us
And
to
it's
begin to
an
make
important-
those connections.
It's an important cultural aspect of Cincinnati, feeling a part of your neighborhood. So, I mean, that's sort of that's the building block for all of us.
It's what we say we're proud of, right? And unfortunately for our young people, it's not so much. There's a lot of this, I got this from young people, but a minute and a half later, one more question, and you realize they really would love
Yeah.
to have somebody wrapping their arms around them.
So this is an asset-based study, and we're really excited to present it to you. We can, like I said, follow up with you. CPD has already begun. There's a crime section implementing that portion of the study. We got CRC already beginning to implement the recreation parts, and as Liz said early in her presentation, we're meeting with the 9 community councils, having them identify at least 10 people in their communities who will be a part of this work and engaging our young people. So I believe that the village is awakened, and we are ready to better serve our young people because they are ready. And I'm very encouraged and hopeful by what they told us.
Well, thank you so much for taking the bull by the horn, and what I heard you talk about mostly, because we've already talked about this, partnerships.
Yeah.
And so that's what it takes. It takes the entire village.
The
So thank
village.
you for digging deep to bring the information to the forefront, and we're happy to be a partner.
Yes.
As well. So let us know how we can continue down this path.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving along, our next presentation is entitled Government Finance Officers Association, or GFOA for short, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Award. And so we are welcoming Harlita Tomlinson who's the Forest Park Finance Director.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome, thank you, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm representing the Government Finance Officers Association, and I'm also a past president of the Ohio chapter. I am honored to be here today on behalf of both organizations and to present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the Cincinnati Board of Education. The Certificate of Achievement program was established in 1946, and the purpose of the program was to encourage and assist governments in preparing financial reports that are of the highest quality for the benefits of their citizens and for the parties that have a vital interest in government finances. The program has gained widespread recognition as a premier indicator of excellence in government accounting and financial reporting. And to earn the certificate, the Cincinnati Board of Education finance staff had to have substantial confirmation to a specific criteria that is both demanding and rigorous. The Cincinnati Board of Education in receiving this honor reflects the professionalism and commitment of the numerous individuals as well as the many that did the hard work to prepare your comprehensive annual financial report. It also reflects a high degree of dedication and leadership on the part of the board, especially your treasurer, Jennifer Wagner, and her finance staff. And the GFOA hopes that this award will serve as an example and encourage others to strive for the same high standards. Therefore, it is my pleasure and privilege on behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association to present to both Jennifer and the Cincinnati Board of Education the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting.
Thank you. What an honor. Can we make sure we get a photo?
We're actually going to get a photo. She's actually going to be featured in the newsletter.
Nice.
Sorry, folks.
Moving up, Jen. Take your time, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Have a good meeting.
Do board members have any comment? Congratulations to our treasurer,
Thank you,
Ms.
thank you.
Wagner, and for the amazing work that you do with your team. We greatly appreciate it.
It takes a huge team to do it,
It
so
does.
yes, thank you very much.
That's a whole nother village, right?
Yes.
All right. Our next presentation is entitled Accelerate Great Schools. So I want to introduce to you folks that we have who are going to come down to the lower podium. We have Mr. Brian Neal, who is the CEO of Accelerate Great Schools. Ms. Mary Beth Martin with the Farmer Family Foundation, and she's also an Accelerate board member. Mr. Jeb Head, Atkins and Pierce, an Accelerate board member. And Ms. Pat Zerby, who's the manager, GE Aviation and Accelerate funder. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So what's the good news, Mr. Neal?
Good news, what are we talking about? Good news, right? We're all here together.
Yes.
First of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you. We are very excited to be here on behalf of Accelerate Great Schools, our board, and our team. As a matter of fact, I want to take one quick moment to acknowledge our team members who we also have in the audience here. We have Ms. Cinnamon Pelly from our communications team. We have Paige Lindy as well. They're over there strategizing in the corner. And we have Tanisha Chapman here as well. So we're really excited to have them here on behalf of Accelerate Great Schools. So for those of you who are not as familiar with our organization, we are a not-for-profit fund with one mission, and that's to ensure every student in Cincinnati has access to a great school and a quality education. So the fund was founded because of partnerships and collaborations like this to make sure that the community could come together and embrace the most innovative and exciting education initiatives and provide it for all students across the city. So before I go into any further detail on the grant and a specific announcement, I'm also going to bring to the podium Mr. Jeb Head, who is the president of Atkins and Pierce, and also one of our board members to give a few remarks.
Very nice.
Well, thank you all for having us here tonight, and good evening. I just want to say we are truly excited about the launching of the Spencer Center. It is a great plan with a strong execution and great staff, and it's going to provide expanded educational opportunities for Cincinnati's students and families. We at Accelerate Great Schools are delighted to be able to participate and collaborate with CPS on this really important initiative and to support CPS's continued great efforts to support and serve Cincinnati's kids. So thanks.
So I'm going to ask Vanna to please bring our sign. On behalf of the Accelerate Great Schools team, on behalf of our board members, and on behalf of our community partners, we would like to present a check to Cincinnati Public Schools and the Spencer Center for $350,000 to support your efforts.
That is awesome. And before we run up and jump in the photos with you, because this is a photo moment, I want to ask our superintendent if you have any comment.
Yes, so we're really excited about this opportunity. We cannot thank Accelerate Great Schools enough. This is such a wonderful partnership, and it really speaks to equity. And if I could, I would like to have the principal, and she brought along some parents and some students who represent the school to come down front to be a part of this.
Come on down.
Photo ready?
Well, as folk are coming, I also want to echo, on behalf of the board, a tremendous appreciation for the $350,000 award and also for the partnership. I have long stated that the district values every single partner, and I think this is a great example of, being innovative, being collaborative, and really stepping out on something that's great for our students. This is amazing. Hi. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Here they are.
Okay, open houses tonight. Hi, yes.
So yeah, my name is Nina Ginocchio, I'm the principal of the Spencer Center. I am deeply honored to represent our staff and our families this evening, to partner with Accelerate Great Schools. Means a lot because I know about the opportunities and doors it's going to open for our students.
Yes.
When I said that innovation, creativity, wonder, love, personalization, and equity were at the center of our school design and meant it, and I wanted that to be very transparent in our schedule, in our staff, in our curriculum, and in the opportunities we afford our students. I know that this support is going to go a very long way in making that very real. I cannot wait for you to come see us and to see what our students are up to. I know it was really exciting for us to open the doors tonight. Our families were very timely. They were outside in deep numbers.
I bet. I bet.
Open house, so I'm hoping that our teachers are feeling well rested tomorrow morning and excited to continue. But I'm so humbled and so honored, and I know that you'll come see what our students and teachers do with this support. But we share your commitment to equity and to honor every student deserves the education that meets them where they are, and helps them not only to deepen their passions they already have, but to define new ones, explore new things. So I'm very, very honored and excited.
Nice. Very well. Somebody's got to accept the check.
Get the families in. Get the families in there too. Yeah, let's get the families in there.
They're much cuter than I am.
Come on, families.
The brothers Britt.
Oh, somebody's hiding.
Very nice.
We make comments, or?
Thank you all so very much. Do board members have any comments? Ms. Manera?
Yeah, I definitely think that this is amazing, and then just having it all tied in and getting some funding out of it. But I just want to take the time to really recognize that as a board member and part of this amazing team that sits here in front of you is we at least I would say, I see that we have such incredible administrators that can come up with this, that have been able to go into the community and really listen to what's needed. Not only that, but also look at best practices in the city and then be able to come up with a program that is worthy of not only receiving funding and partnerships. So I'm just really, really happy to just continue to congratulate our staff to continue to do the good work that they do. And to continue to feel empowered that this city has incredible administrators that, like I always say, they could be going nationwide showing the people what we do here in Cincinnati. So alongside the benefactors, which are our students and our families and our partners, we also are blessed with great administrators.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton?
I would certainly second that, and I want to particularly cite our superintendent for leading this effort in these last few years, especially to get us to this point. I also want to congratulate the board from a standpoint of the equity policy. This is one of the first examples of, just like the 7th period day or 8th period day for our high schools, this is one of the giant strategic decisions, especially as it pertains to serving all students and making those adjustments. And want to also suggest that Assistant Superintendent Bunty had an awful lot to do with laying out the groundwork as to how the data should be collected and how we could address many of our students district-wide that were not being served in a way that is best for them or us. So I think this is another, let's keep doing a list of products and results of the equity policy, and great administrators and obviously our wonderful community supporters. No public school system in this country has the partnerships or the public support that CPS does, and we need to be thankful every day for that.
Yeah. Ms. Hoffman?
To add to that, when we talk about equity, again, like we said when Councilwoman Simpson was up here, it's not just the equity and outcomes, but we know to get that to the equity and outcomes, it's equity and access and opportunity. And that when we looked at the data for our gifted program, it was not, the demographics of the kids did not reflect our district. And so we knew there was not equity and opportunity, that not all kids were getting an equitable opportunity to access our gifted programs. And so to Board Member Manera's point, we gave that charge to our administration, and because we have such fantastic administrators, this is the creative way that they came up with to say, how do we make sure that so many more of our kids can have these kind of opportunities? And then to be able to find principals and administrators who can take that vision and bring that vision to life. So I know we are all very excited to get to Spencer School once it's open and see kids in seats actually living out this vision that our administration and the principal and her staff have really come up with. So very exciting.
Yes.
Excellent. Very well, thank you. Our final presentation is OpenGov, and we're going to welcome Brittany Marks, the Director of Financial Reporting and Transparency.
So while she's coming up, I just wanted to remind the board that a good almost 10 years ago, this district made a commitment to financial transparency, and in partnership with our current CIO, we created the first ever public financial dashboard. Recognizing that sometimes it's very uncomfortable to be transparent, we decided to bite the bullet and do it. And so we were nationally recognized for that work. So fast forwarded to when I was appointed as the treasurer, one of my first goals was to revitalize that financial dashboard to make it more user-friendly and more interactive. At the same time, Josh Mandel was having his initiative with OhioCheckbook.com And so we immediately jumped on board, maybe a little bit too quickly because we were in the process of doing our financial systems upgrade. And so we did a parallel project, and so we did a soft launch then, excuse me, did a soft launch then, and then did a relaunch as we came up fully with our financial applications. We are so committed to financial transparency that Brittany's title is Director of Financial Reporting and Transparency, so that she's solely focused on quality reporting and being transparent. She adopted this project and ran with it, and she's going to show you what it can do.
Nice. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to the board and Mrs. Wagner for inviting me here tonight. When I started with the district back in December, Mrs. Wagner and I met and talked about how to go about getting this Ohio checkbook launched and live. So what we did a few months back was we formed a financial marketing committee. Mrs. Bolton was the board representative on that committee. We had representatives from various unions, community members, also audit committee members and administration from the treasurer's office. So that committee was tasked, the objective was to come up with what does the community want to know about our financial data? What would be a useful way to utilize OpenGov and its tools and reports to communicate financial information? So we met several times and threw out many ideas. We actually ended up having each member of the committee take Post-it notes and put them up with all their ideas, and we kind of lumped them into, I think we came up with about 10 kind of large categories. And we talked about how people think in the community about financial information, and typically it's in the form of a question. So somebody's going to ask, how much does the district spend on fill in the blank? So we came up with a financial landing page dashboard that is a question and answer format. And when you click on the question, it actually links you to OpenGov and answers the question. So I'll go ahead and actually demonstrate where to go from our district homepage to get to this information. So from the district site here, if we go to About CPS and down to Financial Information, we created a new tab called OpenGov where you can find all of the different questions listed under that tab. So this first link here, this will take you directly to the Ohio checkbook portion. So when you click on that, it will launch the checkbook itself. So we can start there. So when you log into this site for the first time, this navigation assistance will pop up. So it can actually walk the user through a tour of the site. It points out different features and filters and kind of walks you through what you can do on your own. But what we wanted to do was provide a little more structure so that it's a little bit easier for the end users to find information that would be valuable to them. And this is the format that if you follow the link through the state treasurer site, this is the same format you'll see for all the other school districts, counties, other government entities in this format. Now, what sets our site apart from many of these other entities is this section down here. So you'll see the format with the question and answer. The paragraph below provides a little bit of a brief description. It's not the answer to the question, though. The answer to the question is actually in the data. So here's a good example. How much does CPS spend on pass-through payments? Okay, so we'll click on that. And it launches a graph. And what's really cool here is you can drill down onto each of these individual slices of the pie, and you can also select different graph formats up in the right corner. So as we get more years of data entered into the system, you can see in a bar graph, you can do a comparison of year to year. So our goal is to once we have a few years of data in here, perhaps think about how we want the landing page to look, because we can always change it. It's very flexible and allows us to do what we want and what is valuable to our community. So we plan to continue meeting and reevaluating what the community is wanting and in what format. So a good example of the drill down capability, if you come down to how much does CPS spend on extracurricular activities? So we can launch this graph, and then you see the different categories of extracurricular activities. So then if I'm just interested in sports, I can click on the sports slice of the pie. Oops, went too far. And it opens up to further drill down. And if I was interested in seeing how much the district spends on girls volleyball, then I can go and drill down myself and figure that out all through a few clicks and through this, what is called the saved views. So you can access all those different links through our main page, but also once you're in the OpenGov system, all of those questions are all listed on the left-hand side there, so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth as well. In addition to the OpenGov tool, the committee also worked on a glossary of financial terms. So things like auxiliary services just stands out here. The community members might not know what that means. So in addition to providing a brief description underneath, we also have a glossary of financial terms, and we've provided links to source information as much as possible so that there's really a lot of information available on all of the topics out there. And at the bottom of this page is my contact information. So we would like to invite the board, the community, to go out and try out this site and send your questions and your feedback and anything else that's not on there that you'd like to see. I welcome that feedback, and we'll bring it to the committee, and this is a work in progress, and we'll continue to add to it and make changes. And the most important thing is that it's a tool for the community. So we want to put out there what people want to see.
Very nice. Do board members have any questions or comments? That's great. We always were fantastic.
I would just point out the, as CPS brands itself and moves into another phase, I think it's interesting that as we rebrand, the transparency issue that sometimes people raise, I think the financial folks are leading us as a system into that new, more transparent era that we're going to have. And I can only imagine the amount of work that frontline people had to do to get the data entered and there, and I really appreciate that. I also will warn you that, Madam Treasurer and Madam Superintendent, this really helps us in the budget process too, because now we know some more numbers and we'll be able to drill down pretty specifically, but this is fabulous. I think it's great, and Brittany, you've really done a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
One new added feature that we're planning for right now that we haven't been able to do yet, but we're going to be a pilot for our technology department, is do online chats so that people can get online and chat with a financial professional and ask us any question they want. And so that, it'll be one of us there to do that. And we'll publish hours of chat time or whatever. So I'm really excited to do that this year.
Yep.
Nice. Ms. Jones.
Yes, I would like to commend the team on what some of us who might be more technology challenged is the appearance that it's ease of access and the navigation, because that's what's in transparency, that's what's important, that people have to be able to get to it and read it. And I like color, so some of us are visual learners. So I just want to commend the committee on that.
Thank you. And I think that's why we felt strongly about going further with our partnership with OpenGov instead of sticking just to the treasurer's checkbook, because that's not as user-friendly. So the additional reports and tools make that much easier.
Very nice.
I just really wanted to commend Brittany because she's done a fabulous job with this. As a brand-new employee, she just took it and ran with it, and she does a great job. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Brittany. Excellent. Does anyone have any kudos?
We need to do a kudos to everybody in our district right now.
Well, I was getting ready to do the same thing. Go ahead, Ms. Hoffman.
Yes. So as we saw, we have a principal and parents who came straight from their open house. I came to our meeting tonight straight from the open house at my children's school. So we know all of our schools are abuzz with activity right now. So kudos to all of our staff members who are getting prepared to welcome all of our children on Wednesday.
Great minds think alike, because that's the same kudos that I was going to give for all of our caregivers, our parents, even our students who are just so excited about Wednesday. I'm excited about Wednesday. So we'll look forward to hearing from our superintendent about how the first day went. I know you've got a grand tour scheduled, and how lovely is it that you are able to go to schools where you actually were a student. I think that's pretty phenomenal. So you have our full support. Thank you. Ms. Bates, please present the retirements.
Yes, I have to announce several retirements of our staff, of our certificated personnel, Janine M. Schorsch, and from our civil service personnel, Diane Richardson and Frederick Sloan. So we thank you for your service to our children and congratulate you and wish you well in your new phase of life.
Thank you. We would normally hear from the public at this time. We don't have any folks who have signed up for speaking of the public. Ms. Bolton, would you please present the resolution for board consideration?
Yes, thank you. I have a resolution regarding approving yellow school bus stops for the school year of 2017, 2018. Public might want to know that annually the bus stops are under review, both from a standpoint as to where we have enrollment and where we need to pick kids up, but also from a safety standpoint. They're all reviewed. We have a great partnership with the city and our transportation folks, and Mr. Mooring do a great job in doing that review. So I present this resolution. It's the resolution for all the new bus stops and old ones, but now annually approved.
I think it's very important, so I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion or comments? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Manera?
Aye.
President Copeland Dansby?
Yes. Superintendent Mitchell, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. I have a very brief report. So our teachers officially started back to work today, and I say officially because many teachers have been in the schools and in the classroom for the last several weeks, and so we're really excited to be able to offer them some professional development today. So our whole teaching complement was back today, and we're really excited about that. As was stated, the 16th Wednesday is the first day of school, and we are very encouraged and happy that the state superintendent has decided of all the school districts in the entire state that he could visit, he decided to choose Cincinnati Public to visit on our first day of school. So we're very happy he's going to be able to visit some schools. My last report is just around, you may have noticed in the superintendent's recommendations under civil service on page 14, there are some positions that will be adjusted on the August 28th meeting to be in alignment with a new salary schedule.
Nice. Excellent. Do you have a motion to approve the revised recommendations of the superintendent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Manera?
Aye.
President Copeland Dansby?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the revised report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, comment? I have a question. I'm looking at the old, so on the old, it was on page 4. Let me just look at the revised. The question that I have is related to the AP exams specific to Aiken, Dater, Withrow, Riverview, Taft, Schroeder, Clark, and SCPA. Do you know anything about that? Are those just the cost for regular AP exams? Or is that something special? Or is that the subsidy that parents don't have to pay? I'm just curious.
Dr. Lofton, I believe that refers to the students who took the AP exams and us paying for the submission of those exams.
Right. I was hopeful that that's what it was, that on behalf of students at these schools, the district pays the AP fee on their behalf. Excellent. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Manera?
Aye.
President Copeland Dansby?
Yes. Are there any inquiries or updates? Ms. Hoffman? Oh, you were turning it off? I thought, for sure, you were turning it on. Ms. Bolton's lights on.
What a surprise.
Go for it.
Yes, I'd like, again, to make an inquiry, and I know that having spoken with the treasurer earlier today, there is an update regarding the funding probability or possibilities regarding preschool tuition subsidies for 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds. And it's my understanding now that we are this close to opening and we've got additional numbers and information that the treasurer would be able to share with us the possibility or probability of the subsidies being available not only for 4-year-olds at 200% poverty, but also 3-year-olds. So if it pleases the chair, it would be great to get that update, because I think this is a follow-up from our last meeting on Wednesday, and I think we have new numbers.
Well, last week's meeting on Wednesday, we made an assignment to board members to bring information back. Is that this information that we're getting ready to hear? Have you had a meeting since then?
We've not met yet. That's in process, but I don't know if there's a new set of numbers.
I'm just leery of that because we made an official assignment
Yes.
to go gather information and to bring it back.
Yes.
And I would add, I think the assignment was indeed, part of it was to be with the preschool promise folks, the administrators, private providers, and get that information. This is specific to the numbers that the district has for only the CPS district students. So, I mean, we can hold on it if we want, but people are coming to school on Wednesday, and there is some important things that probably need to be done based upon our the commitment to last dollar in, which I think has been an important financial aspect of how much money there will be for subsidies. But we can hold the information. I just think it was and it doesn't change, I don't think, the assignment that you guys had, which was to find the information out, especially from the preschool promise folks, and it was a larger assignment than this is, I thought.
Yeah, so does this differ from the conversation on Wednesday with the numbers that we received from Ms. Bronax? This is the same information.
This is more financial information that is now available because we have a better understanding of last dollar in, which we didn't have on Wednesday, we didn't have last week. And it's important from a standpoint of whether or not there will be funds that have been budgeted or could be budgeted. And it starts to maybe answer some of the questions where we've had a conflict. So I think it'd be useful as part of your gathering. It doesn't end all the other gathering of information our members have to do, but I think it might move the dialogue along.
Treasurer Wagner, are you prepared?
So I can speak, all right, so let me just say this. So the Cincinnati Preschool Promise adopted a budget, and they had allocated $8.4 million towards tuition assistance, which we were estimated to use about 4.4 of that, or a little over $4 million. Given that budget allocation, and given the data that we have as of today, we should be able to fund the 4-year-olds up to 200% and the 3-year-olds up to 200% that are enrolled, given all the other maintenance of funding sources that we've been able to finalize and calculate as we move forward for the school year. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
I would not want to publish any enrollment because it changes every
Well, that
minute.
was where I was concerned.
We are
And
tracking,
I mean-
have we been tracking in previous years about where our enrollments are, and district-wide, as of this morning, we were over 35,000 enrolled in total.
Absolutely, and we all know after the first week of school, we'll have better numbers related
After Labor Day.
to enrollment, or even after Labor Day. So the only reason that I just hesitate to do that is because it just adds a lot of detail that it can become confusing, if you will. So I want to make sure that we carry on with the official assignment with our board members who are representatives of the short committee or whatever you guys call it.
And yes, I totally appreciate that because they've been doing the work with the Preschool Promise folks and the administration of Preschool Promise, but I think that this was interesting from a standpoint of the last dollar in as well as the enrollment.
Absolutely.
So that can actually impact not only us being able to serve our 3-year-olds at 200%, but that last dollar in can also have an impact on the budget that they're looking at and working through. I mean, this airplane is being built as it's being flown. Since it's new. So I just think that was an important piece, and I appreciate the treasurer and the administration trying to keep track of that, and it could be good news for us and for everybody else.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to address since we're talking about this, address the Friday reports that we are now getting from administration. They are great, and if you can continue to send them to us when there are updates. I appreciate it. And if there's any information related to the 3- and 4-year-olds, or as we do new enrollment projections and that, please include it as a part of your report. Thank you. Are there any other inquiries or updates? I have one and a possible. The first has to do with following up. We're going to have an off-site meeting in the community here pretty soon, and we were to discuss some ideas as to where we thought we'd have it, and we haven't had that conversation. So I'm going to suggest that we do it at Bond Hill Elementary. I was there just the last week. It's phenomenal, and I want y'all to see it. So can we do that? Can we schedule for that? Ms. Davis will know the off-site date.
She's going to say no as an alum.
She had the big smile like, yes. So between the superintendent's office and Ms. Davis, if we can identify, I think it's a September date or October? The 25th, September 25th. So we'll meet at Bond Hill. Now, the question to Public Affairs is that will we be able to live stream from a remote location? Thank you.
That's a good answer.
Okay, so I'm gonna just skip that last one. What was it? Yes, we can. I like that. All right.
That's a better answer.
Right. Don, I think you might be starting something dangerous. Are there any assignments?
I have one.
Ms. Bates?
Yes, I would like to make an assignment to the Student Achievement Committee. And we have all heard that there are many high-demand technical fields and jobs in those fields that are going unanswered for lack of trained people to take those jobs. And I was recently made aware of a program at Cincinnati State where there are apprenticeships for HVAC trainees or employees. And there was a suggestion made that we work with Cincinnati State on a pre-apprenticeship program at one of our schools. Maybe Woodward would be a good fit, but maybe there would be another school. So I wanted to make the assignment to Student Achievement to explore, in particular, that program and then others that may be available. Since this, I like this one because it has a connection to Cincinnati State, so we're not just training high school graduates for work, but there's post-secondary involved with this as well. And, you have a job and then you have money to pay for even more college afterwards. So this in particular, but the field in general of high-demand technical jobs and preparing our students in some way to move into them more specifically, especially if they show an interest through, the work that we're doing in My Tomorrow. We can easily identify those students.
My members, I think that would be good. It fits within our interests that we've been pursuing regarding career paths and also graduation requirements. But I thank you for the specificity of it because that gives us something to concentrate on instead of just the wide world of, 7,000 things to look at. That's great. If it pleases the board, we accept.
Great, I think that's wonderful. I might suggest, though, that you work in collaboration with the administration to identify the school. It could be more than Woodward.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, we're fortunate in student achievement. We have the assistant superintendents all in attendance as members, so we've got a great source of experts.
Any other assignments? Ms. Hoffman?
Given our presentation tonight from Councilwoman Simpson and Ms. Bloom to our administration, I know that our superintendent already does work closely with them, but I think now that the report is out I guess the assignment would be to be working with them to figure out what from here CPS can really jump on and work with, and then if there are places where the superintendent believes our committees, student achievement, policy are likely the most likely committees, to be coming back to us with suggestions for potentially work that we as a board should be taking on, given this report.
Yes, nice.
Can I have another assignment? This is to the administration, obviously. It was referenced before about the later starts for high schools. We know that the folks that have been informing us and educating us have also been educating the city council and the state and the city board of health, as well as they've appeared before the Facet committee. And indeed, in student achievement, we've dealt with this on a number of times, and these people are very persistent, rightfully so, to be in attendance to help us move away into this, and particularly looking at the time frame. I'd like to assign to the administration to find a way that we could perhaps, I don't know if assemble or gather the people that need to be gathered, so these people don't have to keep going to this committee and that committee, but for all of us to figure out where we actually are on this. And I just think it's fair to people that have been advocating for over a year now in various places to get us someplace, and I think with the Superintendent Mitchell to be kind of updated as well, and also to share her view. But I think it would be great if we could find a way for the whole board and many of these other folks that have been associated with this movement to meet in a way that's a meeting that's dedicated specifically to that, not just another agenda item. So if the superintendent could figure out how to do that, that'd be great.
Can I make an addition to that? Can we make sure that we have a financial person at the table so we can talk about the
Absolutely.
cost?
Good point.
I have an announcement.
Ms. Manero.
I have a fun announcement.
Yay.
All right, it's fun for assignment for whoever wants to take it, and I hope it's everybody. So our wonderful PR department does something pretty phenomenal, I think, the first day of school. And that is a contest that they call First Day Faces, right? So if you happen to be in a school the first day, right, you want to encourage parents to take pictures of their kids or their mentees or extended family, whoever's bringing them, and participate in this pretty fun event. First of all, because we got a lot of things happening in our district, so we definitely want to drive traffic to our website or our Facebook. There is no status quo here. We're doing a lot of great things. And they get a chance to win $300 an Amazon gift card. So thank you so much for putting this contest together. I think it's one of the funnest things that I get to see. Actually, and it goes on for like the whole week, right? Like people keep posting stuff. A little longer. Right, exactly. So it's a lot of fun. If you find yourself in a school, just go ahead and I encourage you to do that. Take a selfie of yourself, send it in. We definitely want to drive the traffic into our Facebook and Twitter, and just because it's so much fun, but at the same time, it allows parents to then be connected to us, and then we can give information to them much easier.
It is a lot of fun. I've tried to win over the years. It's a lot of fun. Thank you, Mr. Manera. Any other assignments? Having no other business before the board, we're adjourned.
Good meeting.
Good meeting.
Very good meeting.
Very good.
Now I have to get a prescription for my dog. My doggy has a UTI and bad teeth because of culture at a well visit.
Jason was just a well visit.
And well, they were preparing actually to do a dent procedure, so they did an analysis.
Really?
Yeah. Then they
Have a wonderful
and found out that they back.